Hey, it's Jay with 1791 Actual. Thanks for stopping by. We're doing a little bit of something different today. It's going to be pretty short. The One of the things that I've mentioned recently is that I've been transitioning away from the digital world to more of a traditional mechanical world when it comes to my scale and my caliper. I'm probably 98, 99% transitioned off of my digital scale and using a beam scale for everything now. It's the whole idea of, if the batteries are running low on my digital, I may not know that, and my measurements could be off. So, and I don't want any surprises. Same thing goes with a caliper, and the caliper, uh, your cartridge overall length needs to be accurate. If you get the bullet seated too far down, you're going to run into high pressure issues. If it's not seated deep enough, it's not going to chamber properly. There's that ideal place where that needs to sit. So you know the very same thing could go wrong with with a digital caliper. That could go wrong with a digital scale in the fact that your measurement could be off as the battery is weakening. So we need to kind of get back to being old school. So what we're going to do today is we're going to learn how to use a dial caliper, or as some call it, an analog caliper. There's several different kinds of mechanical calipers out there. There's what's called a vernier caliper that doesn't have the dial; it's just got markings along the bars. Uh, it's uh, it's an interesting tool to use, especially if you're dealing with some very small things. But my preference is the dial. I've got a couple of vernier scales, vernier calipers that I've tried. In fact, I use one of them for measuring stock for the silverware rings that I make. So how do we use this? Well, for starters, most have a locking screw down here at the bottom that if you release that, it allows you to turn the dial itself without moving your needle indicator. And as you turn that, you may need to do that as an adjustment. If you want to be able to measure something, so that it zeroes out at some point, you can actually set that, and you turn the dial around there. Now you can actually measure things like run out and that kind of thing. I don't generally do that, so I'm going to make sure that my jaws are closed. Make sure that the jaw face. You always want to keep your jaw faces clean. Make sure that the jaws are closed. And I'm going to bring my dial around until the zero lines up exactly with our indicator marker. And that's it right there. So then I'm going to tighten down my thumb screw underneath. Okay. And this is an Anytime Tools caliper. Got it off of Amazon. Fairly inexpensive. You can get super expensive ones, but this is hardened stainless. It's very effective. It's served me quite well. So the next thing you have is a locking pin up here, and that, when you tighten it, keeps the slide from moving. So we're going to loosen that up, and we're going to loosen it up just enough so that we can move this. And for large movements, you can grab right here. for very small movements, put your thumb on the wheel and just rotate the wheel very slowly. And you can see how small those movements can be. I tend to put my thumb on the wheel and let the tip of my thumb ride on the back of that frame right there, so I can make very small movements. But how do you read this crazy thing? Now that's kind of a key. Now it looks like I actually may not have gotten my dial face quite lined up like I need it. So we got that fixed. We'll tighten that back down. So to read this, you have inch markings on the inner rail. And this is kind of this caliper is kind of an interesting meld of metric and imperial measurements. It's imperial in the fact that it's in inches. Okay, so we have a 1 inch mark right here. Grab my pencil pointer again here. Right there, that's a 1 inch. But instead of being broken down in percentages of an inch, this is actually broken down in tenths. So like what you might see is in a millimeter or centimeter type of situation where it's in tenths. So you've got inches and tenths of inches. So where we're at, within under an inch, so we're going to have like 0.9 would be right down here. Okay. Above an inch is going to be 1.5, 1.6. And you notice as I go between that 5 and 6, my dial is moving. So down here at 5, when I get the face, I get my measurement face right here on the measurement face is right on the line for the 5. When it's completely accurate, it would be 1.50. Well, the 357 Magnum loads that I do, if you've watched me at all, you know that I'm a 357 mag kind of a lover. My ones that I load, the cartridge overall length is supposed to be 1.585. So there's 1.5 down there. Here's 1.6 is up here. So then we back on down to 1.58. So we have our 1.585. So I am now down into the thousandths. I tighten my pin up here so that my jaw doesn't move if I bump it around, and I've got it nice and tight. Now, when I do my bullet seating, I can make sure that if my seated cartridge fits exactly in here, I know that my cartridge overall length is now at 1.585. Okay, so there you have it, and there you are. Hope you learned something. If you did, please like, share, subscribe, tell your friends. Also, if you've got a TikTok account, check me out, 1791 Actual over there on TikTok. I do content here and I do content over there. Kind of the same kind of stuff. Kind of not. I do a lot of lives over there. So if you're interested in more content like this, check me out over there. And one way or the other, let's wrap this thing up. It's right at 10 minutes, so let's get on out of here. And until next time, God bless and see you on the other side.